Welcome back to another tier list video. Today we're just going to be talking about mains, and if you're new to League of Legends, what we should think to main in the game as our first champion or one of our most played champions. I did get an interesting comment on the last tier list video asking me to basically rank which champions I would view as most important to learn in League of Legends first. So essentially, what champion can take you the furthest in ranked. So this is going to be for solo duo queue. I did take a look at a lot of websites' data and figure out, along with my own experience, which champions are the best when mastered in to climb with in solo queue. So this is going to be a tier list up until challenger rank. So you can play all the way from iron to challenger with this champion. If I put it in, I guess, the best or great, and then so on down to very bad. There are certain champions that have actually 0 players in challenger right now. So this is mainly going to be a season 16 tier list. However, one caveat is if you do not enjoy the champion, it's not worth picking an S tier or A tier champion just because you feel like it's good on the tier list, or I say it is, or data represents it at the top of the ladder. This is just, play just like kind of a what champions might be stronger than others in solo queue, and what are people playing right now as of season 16 split 3. So with that being said, there is also one adjustment being made for if a champion is permabanned a lot of the time. So you basically can't play it. So such champions are going to be a bit lower on the tier list as a result, since as you move up the ladder, being able to play your champion matters a lot. So yeah, very obvious things need to be said. And also it's going to be a little bit about how many total players there are on the champion. So even though Riven is Riven has, I think, one of the most spots in Challenger right now, or I guess Masters Plus, Riven is not going to be the best champion to main just because there are so many people playing Riven. So it's going to be a little bit about total games the entire player base of all 3 major regions play the champion. So we're going to take that into account as well. And then I guess lastly, it's going to be a little bit more about my experience in the game, and over the years, what champions I've seen do well in solo queue, and how many, I guess, what the amount of champions, what champions I'm seeing the most in my games. So I do play on the NA server, so there is that as well. So as a caveat, so let's get right into it. So first off, we do have, let's see. It's going to be Aatrox. So Aatrox, we're going to actually put into bad to main. So the reasoning for this is just because Aatrox is somewhat mechanically challenging, and he is somewhat of a popular champion by pick rate, though of all those players right now, I think right now Nail on EU West is one of the higher Aatrox mains, but even he is now, I guess, mainly playing jungle. It's going to be a very difficult champion to reach higher elo with, just because there's so many players playing it, but there are only 6 challenger Aatroxes of this patch. So, and then there are only 10 across all 3 major regions, even though it is a very popular champion. I'm assuming this is because there's a lot of contention with this champion, so going to place it in D tier. Next champion up is Ahri. We're gonna have to place Ahri in OK to main. I see this champion a lot. I think Peng 4 is one of the players that comes into mind. Also an EUS player. Over on All server, we have oh man, I'm blanking on his name now, but we do have one I think it's Korea for Forever Korea or something. My god, I wait. Yes, we'll just leave it like that. Yes, so basically Ahri has a decent amount of mains in Challenger and GM. So we're seeing 8 challengers right now in GM or in Challenger. So 8 challengers and 21 GM players. So the ban rate is also very low, which helps Ahri's case. So it is okay to main. I would say Akali is going to be D tier as well. So this champion is very popular, but the ban rate is also very high, 15%, and we're seeing only 6 challengers and 16 GMs. So a little bit more in terms of Grandmaster representation, but again, like the pick rate is around 10%. So very, very popular champion, but even so, we're not seeing too much challenger and GM representation. So this is going to be about one trick data. So if you are a main of the champion with a lot of mastery, how far can you really get? And how far are you going to expect to get? So next up will be Akshan. Akshan is going to be in A tier, so he is very, very strong. There is a couple of Akshan mains come to mind. So in our server, we have Chen Chen, and then in EU West, we have Phantasm. It is rank 1 champion in a major region. So, obviously, a champion getting to rank 1 means it can go all the way. It can go the entire distance. So in solo queue at least. So 6 challengers representing right now as of split 3 season 16 and 15 GMs. I always see this champion around in high-elo. It is quite good. Pretty low ban rate and pretty low pick rate. So this is actually one of the better champions to play. Low pick rate also really helps with how we can see counterplay to your champion, because if a champion is played a lot, then players typically know how to deal with that champion. But if you are playing a champion that isn't played a lot and only you know the limits of, so let's say like Akshan or champions like this, you have an innate advantage. So Akshan is a very good champion very great to main as your pick. Alistar, we're going to have to go with bad to main. So this is one of the few champions, I'm going to mention this, pretty surprising actually to me. There are 0 challenger players across 3 major regions. So this is NA, EU West again, and Korea. And only 6 GMs. So even Alicopter is not a challenger right now, I think. But he is GM, I think. So there are a few Alice, like maybe 1 or 2 here and there. But the mains are sometimes not high elo. Of course, like they could just be not grinding, but yeah, we aren't seeing too much representation at the top for Alistar. But yeah, Alicopter is basically the only guy I know who plays it. So, yeah, I mean, you can let me know if I'm missing anybody, but I think he's the only one. But yes, anyway, we're going to go over to Ambessa. So this is also going to be one of the champions that I rated pretty high on my scaling tier list, if you wanted to check that out. It is, I guess, featured on the channel right now, but you can also just go into tier lists on my playlist and check it out as well. Ambessa is going to be in A tier. So this is a champion that I think a lot of people do play, so is a decent play rate, and then it's also a lot of challenger and grandmaster representation for that play rate. So play rate is about 4%, so that's double of Akshan, and that is and then challenger GMs is 38, so 7 challengers and 31 grandmasters mains of Ambessa. This is like massive numbers, by the way, for play rate and yeah, challenger, GM representation, and pick rate. So, I mean, that's enough said. I mean, Ambessa is very, very strong in the meta, scales really well, very fun to play. Yeah, I would highly recommend this champion. So definitely consider this one. Amumu. Okay, so here we get to another champion that has actually only one representation in Grandmaster. So 0 representation in Challenger right now, only 1 in Grandmaster. 4% pick rate. So this is one of the worst mains you can possibly do. This is not even, so here's a caveat for lower elo players. Here's a warning. I would say it is actually pretty important that you do not play a champion that is like if you are first starting out to the game, right? Unless you're finding Amumu extremely fun and extremely, I guess very fun to play, and it is your favorite champion, I would recommend not picking him up. But yeah, caveat being, if he's really fun for you and you feel really good on him, I would highly recommend not playing him, because I used to be an Amumu main. I used to play him a lot. I did not get very far with him. I even on my Smurfs, you know, when I Smurf or when I try to, you know, rank up, I haven't done this in a long time, but back then, essentially, Amumu is just generally pretty weak. I would say I was one of the better Amumu players on this server, because I was still challenger back then and grinding Amumu. I really enjoyed the champion. This is just one of the champions that I think we should skip, because it doesn't get you too far. After about like master tier ish, players start really playing around your cooldowns, unless he is fundamentally like broken in a way, unless Riot buffs him in some way. I would highly recommend not picking him, just because even though he is very easy to execute and you will see more situations with him, like you'll kind of be able to tank for your team, there are better choices to main as your first champion. And of course, champion mastery builds over time, so you're still gonna get the, like, you can probably get to a pretty decent point in a Amumu play when you are master tier ranked or above on a different champion, because essentially you will have learned the game to extent that you can pick up other champions pretty quickly, and you will have already seen how those champions are supposed to play around your elo, which is, you know, if you make it to Masters Plus, only I guess 1% of players can. So if you can make it there, you'll be able to see 1 percentile play on the regular. So Amumu support is a decent option. I mean, this is mainly for Amumu jungle, I guess. So Amumu support I would also not recommend, by the way, but it is a decent option. I think it is slightly better than jungle right now, but not by too much. So I would not recommend this champion. This is, I guess, one of the few F tiers that exist, but yes, I would say definitely consider other champions first. There is 0 challenger representation for this champion. This champion will not get you very far. The higher you climb, the harder it will be. Just because the champion is not very strong. So, Anivia, moving on. I would put this champion in B tier. It's our first B tier champion. I think the play rate is around 3%. Pick rate is about 3%, I mean, and then the ban rate is very low as well. We're seeing 5 challengers and 10 GM players. In my experience, Anivia mains are pretty solid, so they are quite... they're quite good at the game, honestly. Like, Anivia is a pretty difficult champion to play. You need to combo your Q and the wall, and you have to learn really solid League of Legends in order to pull it off, because you're not going to be able to get out easy. So it's a very like honest champion. It's like if you make a positioning error, you are dead. And yes, you can be saved by egg, but your passive, which revives you after a few moments. But if you waste that, then you are still going to die. So it is a champion that you can learn the game on. It is a very basic champion. It is also pretty difficult to play, so you're going to have mechanics as well. You're going to learn how to wave clear for your team. You're going to learn very solid things. No matter if you're playing top lane Anivia or mid lane Anivia, you're going to be fine to learn the game on. Moving on. These are one of my champions as well, Annie. So I used to be rank 1 Annie. I used to play Annie mid. I got to high GM on Annie mid one season. I was 1 game away from Challenger. Unfortunately, we didn't hit it. This was, I think, season 14 or 15. But yeah, it was like 1 or 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago, actually. I was like, it's on my league graphs, actually. Maybe it's even season 13. But basically, I have screenshots on there. And I would rate this C tier. The ban rate is extremely low. You're going to be able to pick this champion almost every game. The pick rate is also pretty low, somewhere near Akshan's level. However, there are only 2 Challenger Annie one-tricks, one of them being Annie IRL on the EU West server, and 6 GM representation, even though there are a decent amount of games on Annie. Annie's a pretty basic champion. I don't think the champion is particularly strong. Sometimes when the patch is right for Annie, I think she is stronger, but yeah, it is a rank 1 champion. Annie IRL has proven that he can hit rank 1, so I think depending on if you like Annie or not, I would say it's a little bit higher. But I would say Annie and Ahri are somewhat similar around here. There's not too much GM Challenger representation for them, so that is why they're a bit lower on the tier list. Even though they can top the server charts, so essentially be a rank 1 champion, they are not exactly the easiest to get there based on the amount of games played overall from the player base and the games, I guess the amount of players who have been able to reach higher elo. So this is where we kind of bring in stats. And also in our server, we don't have anybody playing Annie right now. So there's that. Aphelios, right? Moving on. This is going to be in C tier as well. So there's very little Aphelios representation in the highest MMRs. I have a little bit of a theory for Aphelios. I think he's actually a pretty decent champion. However, it's very difficult to say exactly where he should be. So I do think this is going to be skewed more towards higher MMRs. So he is picked about a little bit like 3.5% of the time, and he is he only has 1 challenger and 9 grandmaster players. So I think for Aphelios specifically, for really high mechanical champions, you can make the argument that it's actually very difficult to reach challenger because you have to play a lot of games. So you have to actually play a lot now. These days, with how the LP cutoff is, in order to, you have to win consistently over the long period, like long term. So you need more LP league points than ever to reach these higher MMR thresholds, because Grandmaster right now at least is 1000 LP and Challenger is 1600 LP, or I guess like 1500 LP, 1550. So in order to even reach these, in NA at least, and in US, it's even higher. So in order to even reach these LP thresholds, you have to play a lot of games, since you can only at most gain around 30 league points per win, and you lose around 30 per loss. So you can do the math, but it's a lot of games that you have to play at your best in order to win majority of them, or I guess over 50%, and essentially climb. So Aphelios being one of the more mechanically demanding champions by a lot, since ADCs are very mechanically demanding as a class, you have to be extremely mechanically good on Aphelios for the long term. It's actually quite tiring. So I think that's probably why Aphelios doesn't see more representation in higher MMRs. But I do think another option is, another reason for this is that Mage's bot are fairly strong, but I actually don't think that's the entire reason, because, yeah, I mean, I think if a champion is strong, then you can still play it. But yeah, I think yeah, kind of patch dependent, but Aphelios is one of those high skill champions. But yeah, he belongs in the C tier right now. So similarly, right now at least, there are no Ashe mains. Well, I mean, there are very few Ashe mains for how many Ashe players there are. So Ashe is in 10% of the games. Very, very popular champion. Only 2 challengers right now. So 2 challengers and 3 grandmaster players, despite being in 10% of games. So there are so many players for Ashe, and only 2 of them, or I guess 5 of them, are GM plus. So very difficult champion to climb on. There are some limitations to Ashe. I think partially it's just because she is somewhat not like, she's just not the best at everything right now. I think there are better picks than Ashe. She has decent scaling. She has decent utility. She has okay range. She has kind of mid to low tier damage now. So Ashe is, yeah. There's just too many players on Ashe, and everybody kind of knows how to play against Ashe at this point. So it's very difficult to make the champion work. So, let me see here. I think we're going to do Aurelion Sol next. Yeah, we're gonna just continue in order, because yeah, that is where the list is at. So Aurelion Sol is going to be in B tier. So why is he in B tier? It's extremely low pick rate champion, so 2.3%. Only mains typically play this. There are 12 total GM/Challenger players, so 5 in Challenger and 7 in GM. Typically, Aurelion Sol scales really, really well into the late game. So I would say there's a very large chance that Aurelion Sol main will be higher elo. And I think this champion is quite strong, scales really well, controls games. You'll learn how to carry on Aurelion Sol. He's always fairly strong. I always see Aurelion Sol around in my games, at least. Right now in NA, at least, there's a guy named Doom Dada. He's like top 30 right now, NA. He plays Aurelion Sol bot lane, plays at mid lane. Yeah, very, very annoying player to deal with because he is quite good at it. So he'll basically carry the game. Anyway, next champion, it will be Aurora. So Aurora is one of the new ones. Gonna place her in B tier. I think Aurora is quite good right now, has been since release. I think she got nerfed once or twice, but she's also going to continue her dominance. Not too popular of a champion, somewhat similar play rate to Aurelion Sol ever since the nerfs, but this also means she doesn't get banned almost ever. So Aurelion Sol and Aurora almost never gets banned. There is 1 challenger guy and 11 grandmaster players, so quite a decent champion to play. I see Aurora mains, I guess, in NA a little bit more, but yeah, very strong champion to play. Azir. So Azir goes into the C tier. So this is another one of the very highly mechanically demanding champions. So I would say this champion requires a lot of skill to pull off. He's somewhat similar to an ADC, so very highly mechanically demanding. You have to learn how to position. You have to pretty much auto attack for your damage. And anytime where you have to auto attack for any damage, your champion basically changes as you get more damage. So it is harder to play as the game progresses. And there are 6 GM/Challenger players, 2 on Challenger and 4 in GM. I know of a few. There's 2 Azir mains in NA Challenger right now. Have been for a while. They're pretty annoying to deal with. So, but I think because it is highly demanding to play, you don't really see too many Azir mains at the top. Similar reasons to Aphelios, I think. So it is actually very difficult to play him. We're going to get into one of these more surprising, or maybe not surprising, picks of the session here. So it's going to be Bard. Bard actually has, I was pretty surprised by this, but he has a 3.3% pick rate, and he has 16 Challenger one tricks, mains basically, and 29 Grandmaster players on Bard. So this is a very large, very large, I guess, amount of players who have reached the apex MMRs of GM plus, and he has a very low ban rate as well. So very, very strong champion. You'll learn the game very well on Bard. So I actually do not like Bard as a champion, but the data shows otherwise. I mean, I see him a lot in my games, and I think he is fairly strong. I actually do not like the roaming playstyle, but because I like to full clear and I guess just kind of farm more as jungler, but he definitely shows up a lot, and his roaming playstyle does work. So you can learn how to play Bard, and you can reach the Apex Elos with him fairly easy. Next champion will be Bel'Veth. Bel'Veth goes into C tier. I think it's changing a little bit with the rework, but essentially got a 5% play rate. And only 4 challengers across the 3 major regions. I don't have any China data, by the way, so I don't know if I mentioned this before. I don't have any Chinese data. I'm hoping to change that up in the future, but we'll see. And then 10 Grandmaster players on Bel'Veth. So essentially, we will kind of... I think Bel'Veth, for the most part, as a scaling champion, is okay, but currently, I think the playstyle is a little bit gimmicky, honestly. Like, the rework tried to make her into a scaling monster and try to cut her early game, but cutting the early game in solo queue is very difficult for the champion overall. So I would say right now, not too great of a champion to main. Maybe in the future, as more players figure it out, maybe better. So only 14 players kind of representing with a pretty decent play rate in GM plus. So we'll kind of see how it turns out. I'll keep an eye on this one specifically, but right now it's okay. Next one up is Blitzcrank. This one goes into F tier. So Blitzcrank only has 1 main across the 3 major regions, and 1 main in Challenger and 2 main in Grandmaster. So the pick rate's actually quite high, decent ban rate as well. And yeah, we are not seeing... yeah, if you main Blitzcrank, it's going to be pretty tough for you to climb. So people are going to know how to play against you. You're going to meet the limit of your champion pretty quickly. Of course, I'm actually one who believes that not every champion can be mained to Challenger, and I think Blitzcrank is borderline one of them. There is like one guy I think who played it to Challenger. I forgot his name, but I've seen him around, and I think he drops down every now and then from Challenger, even though he's playing pretty well mechanically. There's just limits to certain champions being viable in solo queue. But yeah. Anyhow, back to the board here. It's going to be the next one up here, which is going to be Brand. So Brand is one of those champions that I think also belong in F tier. So Brand jungle was popping off earlier before the nerfs. This champion is pretty poor right now, but if he gets buffed back up, well, we might see more of him. Pick rate is pretty high, and ban rate is also high. Brand mid, Brand ADC, Brand jungle. This is a pretty popular champion. There are 2 challenger mains with Brand, and there is only 1 grandmaster with Brand across all 3 major regions. I don't think I can name one in my server at least, so it must be in other servers. So it is pretty difficult to main Brand. So that being said, we're gonna get into our next F tier champion. It's gonna be Braum. Braum only has 1 support main that plays Braum across all 3 major regions. In Grandmaster only, 0 in Challenger. This champion shows up 3% of the time, very low ban rate as well, but you're going to be able to lock him in. You're just not going to be able to it's going to be harder to climb the higher you go with Braum. So that being said, we're going to be going on to Briar. So for Braum, like I don't think he's a very strong champion to be maining, and yeah, you're going to hit your limits fairly quickly. Briar is also one of the champions that you're going to hit your limits on pretty quickly. Actually, again, similar situation to Amumu. I believe that Briar and Amumu perform very well in the lower MMRs, but when you want to, like, basically all your, basically if you put 500 games onto Amumu, if you put 500 games onto Briar, will it get you to Challenger? Probably not. So Briar has 0 Challenger representation and 4 Grandmaster representation across all major all 3 major regions that I can pull data for. So 7% pick rate, very, very popular. 13% ban rate, also very popular as a ban rate. But yeah, so essentially very difficult to play Briar in the higher MMRs. Basically, you just get kited around and one shot. And then yeah, it's very easy to play around Briar, at least for higher MMR. So Caitlyn, another champion which is very difficult to main. This champion is very popular. There are 3, so there's very high ban rate for Caitlyn, there's very high pick rate, so it's basically going to get contested like 40% of the time. I guess like 30% of the time. And then there's only 3 challengers in Caitlyn, all 3 major regions, and 11 grandmasters. So very, very popular champion. I would say not a good main choice just because it is highly contested and everybody already knows how to play against you. So just keep that in mind. Camille, I'll place in a bad to main. Right now, support Camille is the meta. I believe some changes are happening with Camille, but if I were choosing a main, Camille only has 1 challenger player across all 3 major regions and 9 grandmaster players. Is a very popular champion as well, very high ban rate. I would consider not playing Camille too much. There is a better alternative coming down the line, very similar champion styles. Name starts with R and ends with Ivan, so you know how it is. Camille is like the the unfortunate other champion of that kind of bruiser class. But yeah, it is what it is. Cassiopeia next up. We're going to place her in A tier. So Cassiopeia is one of the champions that I think you're going to have a lot of success on if you main this champion. There's a lot of challenger and grandmaster representation for Cassiopeia. There's very little ban rate. It's about the same pick rate as Akshan, and you're going to have great success on this champion. There's 11 challengers on a 2% pick rate and 8 grandmaster players. So you're essentially going to be able to pick her, and you're going to be able to play her, and you're going to be able to reach the top with her. And it's not too mechanically intensive. I mean, it's fairly mechanical, but I used to play Cassiopeia a little bit. I had decent success on her as well. Cho'Gath, unfortunately, is going to go into the C tier. I know Cho'Gath's a little bit niche. There are 2 challenger Cho'Gaths right now, 9 grandmaster Cho'Gaths, and 4% pick rates. So not very banned, not very contested, but decently high pick rate for how many. I guess there's a decent amount of Cho'Gath players, but the champion does tend to fall off the higher you go. So essentially, it's not going to be as good, but I think it can work. So they're okay. Like, you can notice that this tier list isn't like, oh, C tier is really, really bad. C tier is okay. D is bad and F is very bad. So Cho'Gath's all right. I think he's not very mechanically intensive, so you can grind him for long sessions. Like, essentially, you're not going to be able to, you're not going to have like hand problems or carpal tunnel or anything like that with him. So it's going to be fine for the most part. But yes, that being said, we're going to go on to Corki. So Corki is one of the champions that used to be quite good. I would sometimes put him higher in the meta, but I think he's just pretty solid. So he's very low pick rate. He's very low ban rate. 2 challengers play him and 5 grandmasters across the major regions. So Yeah, it's a pretty solid choice. I think I've seen some Corki mains. In Challenger right now we have I think Goonbug, and I think the other Corki player is going to be in a different server. But I think yeah, I see him do well. I don't really see an issue with Corki. I think he's just like a normal mid lane, not marksman anymore. So not ADC. I think he goes mid. So pretty solid pick. Next up is going to be Darius. So even though we do have Raider Go, it's going to be an F tier. Okay, so why is Darius an F tier? Raider Go is rank 1 Korea, or he got to like rank 3 Korea, and he got to rank 1 E West. Why is he an F tier? Well, it's because Darius is played a lot. He is banned a lot. So essentially, you're going to be banned 15% of the time. You're going to be picked, like the enemy team will pick it against you. Like his pick rate is 10%. So essentially, enemy team might be picking against you like half the time of that. So 1/5, like 20% of the time, you're not going to even get him. You're not going to get to play him. Across all major regions, essentially he only has 2 challenger Dariuses, so Raider Go being one of them. And I honestly don't know the other one. And there are 10 GMs. So even though he shows up a lot of times, players don't seem to hit the highest MMRs with him. So there's a ton of mains, and it is incredibly hard to play Darius in the highest of elos. So that is why it skews towards very bad. There are certain caps on champions, and I think this is like Darius is just a little bit too simple of a champion. I think most people know how to play against him, and he has a lot of counterplay potential. You can just range him down. He just ends up getting outscaled. So you have to be very, very good macro wise in order to play him. Raider, I think, is incredibly good macro wise. So he ends up like if you watch him, he'll just end up not fighting you certain times because he is seeing that potentially he could lose and throw, so then he's just going to skip the fight and push another lane. It is incredibly difficult. I think what he's doing on Darius is really, really crazy. So that being said, not very good to main. I would not recommend it, but I think does have some potential. If you do want to basically just watch him and play like him, then I think maybe you can. But yeah, if we didn't have him as a content creator, I'd maybe even consider putting Darius down way more. So not sure. But yeah, that is what it is. Diana, another one of the F tiers. So I would say not a very good main champion. Doesn't have a lot of options. Has very, very low representation in GM and Challenger. So you're seeing 1 Challenger and 4 GMs across an 8% pick rate and a 5% ban rate. So a large amount of games are being played on Diana, and they are not climbing on her. So yeah, Dr. Mundo also pretty tough to main. So this one actually has 0 challengers on Dr. Mundo as a main right now, at least, and then 8 GM players. So Eloy's being like one of the pushers of Dr. Mundo. He made like a big kind of a few videos on him of him like smurfing through the ranks on Dr. Mundo. I think this champion does pop up here and there, but it's very difficult to actually main him, especially because he is a tank. He does get outscaled, and he does get shredded by certain picks. So it's very conditional. It would not be a champion that I would choose to play every single game, no matter what. So 6% play rate, 5% ban rate, 0 challenger players right now. So very tough to main. Historically, I think Mundo has been also kind of rough to main. So from my experience, I think it belongs in D. Draven, there's a reason why we always see these players in higher elo with Draven. There are 4 challenger players right now. It's a very decent pick rate, above Akshan, above Cassio, but yeah, not too much ban rate as well. 20 Grandmaster players. Draven's always at the top. So, League of Draven is a really real thing. These players are typically, honestly, very toxic, but they are still able to climb, even though they are fairly toxic. So, but yeah, we are going to, we know at least like a few Draven mains. So Tyler 1 being one of them. But yeah, they are typically pretty high elo, and they do well in the game. So Draven is one of the top picks. Very great to main. Ekko, it's a good main. I would say I see a lot of Ekko being played by top tier one tricks. There are 10 Ekko mains. This is like one of the most. And 20 Grandmaster Ekko mains. So very popular champion, but also very high representation in higher MMR. So we are seeing him reach the top a lot of the time. So Elise, one of the champions that I know Agron plays in EU West. I think he's one of the few Challenger Elise mains, but I think that is his most played this season. Agrim, former rank 1 player, but he reaches rank 1 every now and then, so wouldn't even say former. I'd say he's just one of the rank 1 players. So it's a rank 1 champion. It's very difficult to play, but if you can main it well, I always see Elise at the top. Learn to dive, learn to counter jungle, learn the basics of jungle and getting ahead, and you should be fine on Elise. So we're going to keep it at B tier. 2 Challenger Elises and 8 Grandmaster Elises right now in the meta. So, or in the I guess representation of high elo Elise mains, and a very, very low pick rate. So very good champion to pick up and play. Evelynn, pretty similar to Elise, but not exactly. Unfortunately, this one is has 0 Challenger players on Evelynn right now, and only 4 Grandmasters on Evelynn. So not a champion that has received a lot of love in the past few patches, or season 16 in general. So we have not really seen this champion do well. Hopefully, I guess as of season 16, split 3, I mean, yeah, not very popular, and yeah, we will be kind of skipping over Evelynn a little bit. I think, kind of stats speak for themselves. I will link all the stats I'm using down below as well, so we can kind of see. But yes. Ezreal. So Ezreal is in the C tier. He's okay. He's all right. There are 16 Challenger Ezreals, and they're across all major regions, so it seems like a lot. And there are 30 Grandmaster Ezreals. However, gauging, we have to kind of see his ban rate and his pick rate. He's picked in 14% of games, so very, very high pick rate, and very high ban rate, 4%. So I guess, so even though he has a lot of representation in GM Challenger, it is incredibly hard out of those, I guess, players that are playing him to reach that point. So yes, 1.3 million games played. That's a lot of games on this champion. So pretty okay to main, but very difficult to play. So we are moving on to Fiddlesticks. This video is going to be very long, so I'm going to be moving around quite a bit and taking breaks. So Fiddlesticks, you're going to be seeing only 1 Challenger Fiddlesticks. So from my experience, I only basically see Nikon around in Challenger majority of the time. And there's going to be 6 Grandmaster Fiddlesticks. He's going to belong in the C tier as a result. He's okay. There's some champions that are better, but essentially as a main champion, so this is reaching the highest levels of play, I think there are better options, but there are, like, basically for Fiddlesticks in higher MMR, there's going to be situations where you just get spotted out and you lose your team the game. This happens even to Nikon, although he is very, very good at it. He's very good at hiding, but what happens is we find him with like a trinket, like a blue trinket somewhere, and he doesn't get the ult, and then he is no longer a champion. So very difficult to play him. There's some probably similar situations the majority of Fiddlestick players are running into that essentially create barriers for him to climb. But yeah, you don't want to be the champion that is losing your team the game almost ever. So this is a pretty big no-no for a solo queue. But yes, Fiora, It's pretty good. I would say Fiora is fairly good to main. You're seeing quite a few Fiora one tricks who are very high MMR. So we got Potent in E West, we got a couple of Fioras in NA, and there's some in Korea as well. So we're seeing 5 challenger players right now and 17 grandmaster players, and a 3.5% pick rate. So shows up pretty decently. So pretty good. Fizz is one of the champions that is pretty bad to main. So Fizz mains unfortunately don't have too much representation in Challenger. There's only 2, and I can't name any on my servers. So they must be on other servers. And Grandmaster, I actually do. I do know like China likes Fizz a little bit more. There's like that one Fizz guy, but yes. Anyway, yeah. So take this data set with. Keep in mind that we don't have Chinese data. I'm going to try to get that. So we're going to be able to see the entire picture for our next tier list. But this is going to just be the initial impressions of NA, E West, and Korea. So 11 Fizz GM one tricks or mains in GM. So 13 GM plus, 7% pick rate, 10% ban rate. So fairly banned and picked a decent amount of time. Galio, another one of the champions. I think there's only one Galio main in NA, so the others must be on other servers. Over here we have one guy, Sha Dao Li. He's going to be the Galio main in Challenger on our server. So a total of 12 in GM plus, 3 in Challenger, 9 in GM, and 6% play rate and 2% ban rate. So pretty decent on the pick rate side, similar to Fizz, and yeah, as a result, he doesn't really get, he doesn't really get a high spot. He's mainly there to just kind of support your team, which isn't too great. Gangplank is going to be one of the champions that is fairly popular as well. This one I'm going to have to play in bad to main. So this is going to be similar reasons to Aphelios. It's very difficult to play Gangplank. Like, if you guys have played with Gangplank before, there are 6 challenger Gangplanks across the 3 major regions, and one of them being Solarbaka. And I guess he has multiple accounts, so I guess it's just him, realistically, like on many accounts, honestly. And there's like a few other players, but Willie in NA, and there's I'm just going off of memory, honestly. I'm for Gangplank. I do see them around sometimes, but it's very difficult to play. So because mechanically intensive champions are very difficult to play, so you have to kind of play well the entire game. Otherwise, if you throw your bounty these days in Season 16, it can be very rough for you. But yeah, so 5% ban rate, 5% pick rate. He's okay to play. I think similar reasons to Aphelios not being as good as others. Yeah, that same goes for Camille and Gangplank, and mechanically intensive, but not very high reward. So Gangplank is in D tier. Garen's going to have to be in F tier, even though he does scale decently well into the late game. There's only 1 challenger Garen player, and there's 2 grandmaster players across 3 major regions right now. So you can probably name them. They might be famous, but I'm not too sure. I don't really see him too often anymore. So yeah, 9% pick rate shows up a lot. People like playing Garen, but doesn't typically reach the higher Apex tiers that often. I think Master tier has a lot more, but this isn't going to be about Master tier. But yeah, Gnar, another champion that is pretty bad to main. I don't know what's going on with Gnar. I think he's fairly okay, but the thing is there's 0 Grandmaster players and there's only 1 Challenger Gnar main, so 3% pick rate is very low representation in the highest of MMRs. I think the higher you go, the easier it is to play against this champion, because essentially you just go in when he doesn't have Gnar bar, and then you back off when he does. And it's very obvious when he has Gnar bar kind of charged up. So I guess similar situation to Fiddlesticks, maybe. He has a lot of counterplay behind him. So yeah, it's pretty difficult to play with Gnar, but he is decently okay if, played very correctly, but I wouldn't choose him as your first championing maining in League of Legends, so right now at least. Gragas is going to be in the C tier. So this is mainly going to be for Gragas mid and Gragas top. I think Gragas jungle is very poor right now, and you probably shouldn't play it, even though I do enjoy playing Gragas jungle. I don't think it's very strong. There's one Challenger Gragas main and 8 GM Gragas mains across the 3 major regions right now, and pick rate is around the same as Aurora, the same as Akshan. So him not having too much high-elo representation just means that there is a limit to where Gragas can be, even though he has the similar amount of games and similar play rate. But yeah, it's somewhat champion limited. But yeah, Graves, honestly, this is going to surprise most people, but it's going to be bad to main Graves. The reason being is because he does have a very high ban rate and he does have a very high pick rate, so he shows up in over 10% of games, and he is banned in 8% of them. And I permaban Graves myself, so you basically won't get to play him with me on enemy team. So there's that, I guess, anecdotal evidence as well. But essentially, a lot of people have Graves as their permaban. It's not going to be as good to main. As a result, the higher you go, the more he will be banned, and you won't be able to play him. There are 6 Challenger Graves mains, and there are 19 GM Graves mains. So he does have the representation in the higher MMRs, but he is banned or picked a lot, so he is highly contested as well. So you're not going to be able to play him, basically. I think this is one of the picks where he is okay if you can play him in like patches where I guess even win rate data kind of shows him is fairly low. But yeah, he has a lot of games behind him, but he has very high ban and pick rate. So these are one of the champions where it's not going to be to your benefit to main. Gwen is going to be also one of the champions that is going to be very difficult to main. There's only one Challenger Gwen across the major 3 regions, and there's 4 GM players. So fairly decent pick rates, so 3.5%, and very low ban rate as well, 2%. But yeah, going to be very difficult to pick up Gwen. She takes a lot of mechanical skill to play. She looks simple, but she's really not. You have to auto attack and kind of space correctly and shoot your skill shots, and basically just it's a lot about spacing. You're very squishy as well, so it's not too easy to play. A champion that is similar is gonna be shown a little bit later. Name starts with R and ends with Ivan, so there are better alternatives if you wanted to play that kind of style. But yes, next up is going to be Hecarim. We're going to place Hecarim in the A tier. So Hecarim has a lot of Challenger and Grandmaster representation. He has a very low and modest pick rate at 3%, and he's a very low ban rate. I don't know what's up with this champion. I see him every season. Very strong. We know of a few streamers that play him as well. You got Chasik, you got Huncho, you got Dantes, and our server. There's a lot of them, actually. So I see them all the time. I really like, I think this champion is broken, but yeah, jungle's really fast. Sometimes appears in the top lane. You see him every season. Yeah, I mean, Hecarim's just very solid. Has been since release. But yeah, very solid choice to main. Pick rate is honestly pretty low right now for how good he is, so I would definitely consider maining Hecarim when first starting League. Very versatile. But yes, Heimerdinger, I'm gonna go into the D tier. So the only player that plays Heimerdinger in Challenger right now is I think I released that video, that one guy. I'm blanking his name now, because that is what I do. But yeah, he is an NA, and he plays Hecarim bot lane. Heimerdinger bot lane. So he sets up his turrets and he basically pushes you in. I was playing support Braum against him, and we ended up. I guess I won't spoil it, but things happened in that game. I might have it posted already. I might not, but yeah, that is the one guy that is Challenger on Heimerdinger, and then there are 5 GM Heimerdingers. For his play rate, 3.5%, and only one Challenger for it, 6% ban rate. It's fairly safe to say that Heimerdinger is not the best right now. That isn't to say he can't get reworked and become better later on. We don't know what Riot can do. This is only as of Season 16, Split 3. So that is kind of my thoughts on Heimerdinger. I would say do not main this champion. All right, we get over to Hwei. So this is one of the newer champions that were released to League. I would have to play Hwei as C tier. I think he's okay to main. He is picked a decent amount ever since the Hwei buffs, but even so, that hasn't really helped too much. I mean, he does have 5 challengers, so I can see that one of the challenger Hweis on our server at least, Evan the Bank, also creates videos. He shows off that he's the rank 1 Hwei, and essentially low ban rate champion, decently high pick rate, so more so than the other champions above there. Almost double of Hecarim's pick rate, if that helps illustrate how often he's picked, and 12 Grandmasters on him. So I would say Hwei is pretty mechanically demanding. You have to know all the different spell combinations and space very well. He's a kind of honest champion as well, so similar to Anivia, if you get caught out, you're dead. You don't have escapes. You can't really run or dash, or I guess you can run slightly faster, but you have to burn an ability to do so and cast an animation. So yeah, you can run slightly faster and get away that way, but that's not too impressive. So very mechanically hard. Definitely takes a lot of practice to play him. So I'd say not a very good champion to main when first starting out. It isn't really going to be about mechanically difficult, but essentially, if you're spamming mechanically difficult champions, then just know that you're going to be able to grind peak performance less. So when you're at the peak of your game, you're going to be able to play mechanically dependent champions, I guess, less of the time, essentially. So like if you're playing something like, let's say, Cassiopeia or Bard or Hecarim, like not very mechanically dependent champions. I mean, it's arguable, but I would say you can basically spam out more games and essentially reach higher rank easier because you're able to play more when you're at peak condition. Whereas if you're playing stuff like Azir, Gangplank, these are very difficult champions to play and require more skill to execute. So you're going to be able to play at this skill level a little bit less of the time. So you're going to need more like breaks and stuff when clicking a lot more, just for your hands. But yeah, next up will be Illaoi. So Illaoi belongs in the F tier. There are 0 challenger Illaois and there are only 2 GM Illaois. So you see this champion decent amount of the time, decently banned as well. People don't like this champion. I think it's pretty bad as well, the higher up you go. So there's a lot of counterplay to this champion. Essentially, when she ults, you just leave the area and then you're going to not be affected by the ult anymore. So that ult probably needs a little rework. It's a little bit too easy to play around in higher MMRs. Not sure how much love Riot's going to give for Illaoi, but yeah, definitely belongs in the F tier. Very bad to main right now. Irelia, one of the champions that is actually okay. I see this champion a decent amount. There are 7 challenger Irelia mains and 11 grandmaster ones, and 10% ban rate, 6% pick rate. So double of Hecarim. I think the only reason she's not higher is because her pick rate is a little bit too high. So there's a lot of Irelia players, but there's only so few challenger and GM players for her. So there's that. Ivern's going to be one of the champions that I think is going to be most surprising, or maybe not at all surprising. This champion is very low mechanically intensive, so you do not need to really play him too mechanically well. You only have so much you can do. You're ranged. You also have 10 GM plus Iverns, and you essentially have him in 1% of games, with a very, very low ban rate. This champion, when played very well, is a very good support for your team. You know how I feel about support champions. They are very, very good because you can grind them a lot. You don't have to essentially rely on mechanically outplaying everybody. You can just kind of support your team. And yeah, if you know the tricks on Ivern, very, very strong champion to play. This is actually very, very good to play. So that being said, we're going to move on to the next one, which is going to be Janna. So Janna, even though she does scale really, really well, She doesn't really have too many mains in GM Plus, so we're seeing 3 Challenger mains and 8 Grandmaster mains for Janna. She is picked about 2% of the time, very low ban rate, so she's probably just good to main. She's pretty solid as an option. I think there are better options, but if you're a support main, then Janna is pretty up there. So far at least. Jarvan is okay. So the main reason is just because he is picked a lot. So he's very, very popular champion. There are 7 Challenger Jarvans and there are 6 Grandmaster Jarvans across the 3 major regions right now. 5%, over 5% pick rate. But yeah, because he is picked so much, similar to other champions that are picked so much, there's a lot of counterplay to him. People tend to know what he does already. Like everybody kind of knows what Jarvan does, what his limits are. So based off of that, even though he isn't too mechanically demanding, because he shows up so much and we see him in pro play and all that, it's pretty difficult to reach Challenger with him. He is definitely a rank 1 champion. Agron has proved that multiple times. So I think you can get rank 1. It's just fairly difficult because it is pretty competitive for Jarvan. So essentially, you're not going to get him all the time, and sometimes he's going to be somewhat weak on the patch. I think currently he is somewhat weak on the patch, especially with Sunder nerfs coming. So Sunder Sky is getting nerfed next patch, so we'll see. But yeah, so sometimes he is a little bit weaker. Jax, very, very highly popular champion. I used to play him a lot when I was playing top lane, but I would say very difficult to reach higher elo with him. So he is only having 3 Challenger Jax mains in higher elo right now. So 3 in Challenger and 11 in GM, but he is picked and banned almost 10% of the time each. So highly contested pick, but he is of those players, they're not able to reach the highest of MMRs too easily. Jayce, on the opposite hand, A tier. So Jayce is one of the champions that shows up a decent amount of the time. He is similar to Jarvan in play rate. However, he is similar to Irelia, in play rate. However, not, he just has so much challenger, there's so many challenger Jayces. There's 14 of them, and then there's 36 Grandmaster. This is a new record for us so far in terms of how many Grandmaster and Challenger Jayces there are. This champion is pick ban in Pro right now, and he has been for a long time. Pick ban, you'll see him every single time. Not the weakest champion, and also very strong in solo queue. This champion has always been very popular. There's a lot of skin lines for him, so Riot clearly favors him. So keep that in mind as well. If you're a top lane main, or jungle main, Jayce is one of the very good options to play. For ADCs, I'm gonna get into ADCs. Jhin is pretty bad right now, but that isn't to say he's always bad. I'd say it's pretty difficult as a main champion to play Jhin, just because you don't have many escapes. He's similar to Ashe. You're basically a utility ADC. You have 2 challengers playing Jhin, and 22 Grandmasters, so it does look like the limit has been reached around Challenger. I guess, of all the people, the 15% of players, it is a 15% pick rate basically, and of those people, only 2 have reached Challenger, so very difficult champion to play. Jinx, similar situation, very, very popular champion, but not too much Challenger representation as a result. Very mechanically intensive, similar situation to Aphelios. Aphelios being a little bit better because he's picked less of the time. Jinx is in 11% of games, banned 3% of the time, and only has about the same Challenger representation, Challenger GM representation. But yeah, so Jinx is okay sometimes. So sometimes, depending on patch, if they buff Jinx, I would say this is fairly accurate, because even if they buff Jinx, she's going to be banned more and picked more, so it's just going to be pretty similar. K'Sante, I only know of 1 K'Sante main in higher MMRs. I don't know why K'Sante's not here. Oh, actually, I do know why. Just kidding. But yeah, K'Sante is going to be next up here, even though, slightly out of order. Great to main. So Reason being is that there's one challenger, K'Sante. I think Atreus is challenger right now, I want to say. So you guys do know him potentially if you follow his content. And there's 20 Grandmaster K'Sante mains across the 3 major regions. Very, very low pick rates and very low ban rates. So players are not going to know your limits. You're going to know your limits, and you're going to be able to climb when you're fighting them. So champion mastery is a real thing. K'Sante requires a lot of champion mastery. He is somewhat hard to play, but since he is a tank, it is somewhat easier to play him mechanically well the entire time. So you can grind long sessions on K'Sante. He is a tank, not like an ADC. We have to click a lot. So that is okay. On the opposite end, very mechanically demanding champion, Kai'Sa picked or banned 20% of the time. Only 4 challengers are playing Kai'Sa as a main right now, and 7 grandmasters. So I'm using mainly onetricks.gg, by the way, and op.gg as stats for these champions. So whatever's on there is accurate. If you think it's not accurate, then you can probably take it up with them. But yes, so far what I've seen, it's fairly good. But yes, so because so many players play Kai'Sa, everybody kind of knows how to play against it. And there's very few challenger GM players for Kai'Sa, even though there are so many players for Kai'Sa. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit tough to imagine maining Kai'Sa right now, just because it's so popular. Similar situation to Caitlyn. Kalista is going to be actually in the B tier, so Kalista is decent to main right now. Very low pick rates, very low ban rates. 2 challengers and 8 grandmaster tier players with Kalista right now. This is one of the champions that very, very low games overall played, but of those low games, you're going to see a lot of people in the higher MMRs with her. This can skew because she is picked a lot in pro, so typically professionals are picking her up and playing them at the highest levels of play possible. So you're going to see her in Worlds, you're going to see her in professional play. This isn't necessarily indicative that a champion is strong, but it is something to consider when you're grinding from Iron to Challenger, so you can consider learning Kalista and picking her up. I think she's always been around. I think she's always been solid through the patches, so pretty okay to kind of consider. Karma is going to be one of the champions that I think belong in D tier. I do agree with this decent amount because we see a decent amount of Karma. There's only 1 challenger Karma main, and there's 9 grandmaster Karma mains, so not the best champion to main because there's a lot of decent amount of play rates, but there's not too many players that are in the highest of MMRs with Karma. So I think she is decent at scaling, but very difficult to play as well since she doesn't really have an ultimate. So you really have to make use of your spells. Like her ultimate is just basically to empower her other 3 abilities, which is interesting, but yeah, she doesn't really have an obvious like kind of, oh, this is the spell to use right now. Pretty difficult to play. As a result, Karthus, on the other hand, very strong right now. So Karthus has always been around in high-elo. You know, yeah, we all know, I guess, a lot of Karthus mains that have made it as streamers, made it as, I guess I can even name like Karhus, Elo Santa. There was even back in the day, like Phantom Lord, like Karthus, like he's always been around. Like if we remember Phantom Lord, right? Like, you know, like there's just so many Karthuses. Like I can't even like, I don't even know where to begin. 4 challengers right now, 10 grandmasters, less than 2% pick rate. Very good champion. Highly consider this one. Kassadin, very mechanically demanding. Requires your team to kind of farm and scale. You need godly mental to play this champion. You're gonna get completely ruined in the first 20 minutes a lot of the time, and then afterwards you're going to have a chance at winning. Very low pick rate, very low ban rate. 1 challenger Karthus Kassadin player, his name is Abstention. He's the only one across 3 major regions. I mean, that's all you need to know. He's probably the best Kassadin I've ever seen in my life, but he makes content as well. He, you know, streams, but yeah, there's nobody else. And that is saying something for a champion that is so old, got reworked a few times, and yeah, eight Grandmaster players, but yeah, it's very difficult to play. I'd say it's okay. If you really like Kassadin, you can play it. Follow his content for sure. Try to copy what he does. That's pretty much the only way you're going to be successful at Kassadin in the highest of MMRs. If you're just having fun in like lower MMR, then for sure you can definitely play him in lower MMR. You'll do okay, but in the highest of MMRs, just copy what works. Katarina, on the other hand, right, decent amount of one tricks in. This is actually quite a bit of one tricks in higher MMRs. We all know a couple of Katarina mains that have made it big as well, as streamers, content creators, Cat Evolved being one of them, right? So, and then you also see some pro players that have made it really big in Korea. So Showmaker, one of them probably we know. This is a champion that you can really like learn the game from. So you can get to very high MMR, one trick in Katarina, maining Katarina. 10 challengers right now, 20 Grandmaster players right now. Very high ban rate, 7.6% and 7.5% play rate. So very high pick ban comparatively, and large showing in, or 28 Grandmasters, my bad. That's quite a few more across 3 major regions, not even including China. But yeah, this champion's very popular, very strong, has been for a long time. I would recommend. So very good to main. Kayle, on the other hand, pretty bad to main. I would place her in D. The main reason is just being that, similar to Kassadin, requires a decent amount of mental game to be able to kind of farm it out and stay safe and kind of play it well. One challenger player, Desperate Nasus, I think, is the only one that comes to mind. He's pretty much the only one to make it work. 3 GM players, very low amount of players based on Kayle. So 1.5% ban rate and 3% pick rate. So pick rate is higher than Akshan, but the amount of higher elo representation is very low. So keep that in mind. Kayn, another champion that I would probably place down here. We're going to just place all 3 forms because that is what it is. F tier. So there's a 10% chance that Kayn will be in your game across all games, and of that, he's banned 6% of the time. There's only 3 Challenger Kayns, and there's only 4 GM Kayns. So Charisma probably accounts for at least 3 of those accounts. Maybe like 2 or 3 of those accounts at any given time. Charisma is Gig Grinder. So there's 1 Kayn player, realistically, I think, in higher MMRs. That should tell you something about the champion. So maybe he gets buffed in the future. Maybe something happens to Kayn. I hope not, because I really don't like going against Kayn. But good Kayn, very terrifying to play against. Bad Kayn, very easy to go against. I think this champion has been forgotten by Riot for a long time now. I don't think it's been good for a while, at least for maybe a few years. So I haven't really seen it too much. So yeah, I don't think Kayn is very good right now to main. Typically, champions that have been left behind by Riot are not that good to main. So like Illaoi, like Amumu, yeah, like Kayn, like Darius. These champions haven't been updated in quite some time, so keep in mind. Maybe they get an update. We'll see. Next up will be Kennen. So Kennen's going to belong in the good main. So I think Kennen kind of speaks for himself. He has a very low pick raise. He has a very low ban raise, but he has 3 challengers and 5 grandmasters. So less than 2% pick rates. You're going to get him a majority of the time that you want him, and less than 1% ban rate. So you're never going to get banned out. You're going to be a main. You're going to climb very high. Pretty good to main. Kha'Zix, on the other hand, I'd say pretty bad to main. He's very popular as a pick. 4% of games that he's picked, 2% ban rate, and 3 challengers, 6 GMs for it. So he's similar showcase to Kennen. He's also very mechanically demanding because you have to not die as a bug, a very squishy bug. So essentially you have to run very quickly, jump everywhere, and not die at any point during it. Otherwise, you're basically throwing the game if you're spending most of your time, dead. So I would say it's very difficult to play Kha'Zix. Kindred, on the other hand, you're ranged. You do a lot of damage. belong in the good to main. So Kindred's always been very good. Kaido plays Kha'Zix and Kindred, so he's better at Kindred than Kha'Zix. Not very surprising based on the data. And three challenger Kindred mains and 8 GM Kindred mains, half the player base as Kha'Zix. So you're going to get banned half the time as Kha'Zix, and you're going to get banned. You're going to get the champion like almost twice as much. So it's going to be less contested and less banned. I would recommend, if choosing between these two champions, let's say you follow Kaido, one of the best junglers in North America, just play Kindred. So next champion is going to be Kled. So Kled is going to be okay to main. This champion has been pretty strong. He had a pretty decent showing at MSI. Broken Blade definitely played him to beat SKT. So very strong showing. And SKT is a pretty good team, as we all know. They've been world champions multiple times, so we know they're one of the best at least. Can't really argue with that. He has 2 challenger mains and 4 GM mains, so he's not in the strongest of spots right now, but he is okay. So if you do like Kled, if you do like how he plays, then you can definitely get really high with him. I think right now in NA at least, there's Captain Bear, and there might be someone in EU. I'm not too sure if there's another player in NA who is as good on Kled. So yeah, just off the top of my head, looking at leaderboards. Not even looking, just remembering. But yeah. Kog'Maw, I think AP Kog'Maw is quite strong right now, so he belongs in the B tier. He's not very picked, and then he is quite strong in terms of, so he has less than 2% pick rate, so almost non-existent in terms of pick rate, and he has very, very low ban rate, but there are 3 Kog'Maw mains in Challenger, and there are 7 in GM, so very decent showcase, similar to Kindred, but yeah, similar to Kindred's situation, low pick rate, low ban rate, and good amount of representation in higher MMRs. LeBlanc, very popular champion, belongs in C. I would say LeBlanc, everybody kind of knows LeBlanc, what LeBlanc's limits are. 5% pick rate, 10% ban rate, you're going to not get your champion a lot of the time. So 5 challengers on LeBlanc, 12 in Grandmasters. I think very strong champion in general. I would say if you like playing LeBlanc, just go ahead and do it. It's okay to main, but yeah, if you feel like playing LeBlanc to climb, I would not necessarily do that. But yes, Lee Sin, very interestingly enough, we know a lot of famous Lee Sin players, and the data does support this. Lee Sin has 17 challenger mains and 39 grandmaster, so he's played a lot in the higher MMRs for good reason. He's very strong in the early game, and 13% ban rate, 11% pick rate. So a lot of games on Lee Sin, a lot of players are reaching higher MMRs with him. You always see him around in higher elo. There is a reason for that. He is always very, very prevalent, very, very strong champion, never forgotten by Riot, always kind of buffed back if he ever is. So very solid champion to learn. Do I recommend Lee Sin over some of the higher tier junglers? Not necessarily. I would say some of the higher junglers up here and coming up soon will be better options, but halfway through the list, and I think it is pretty decent as an option overall. Leona, similar to other supports, very high pick rates and like very low amount of challenger GMs, so 3 challengers, 4 GMs, but shows up basically 20% of the time in terms of either pick ban. So yeah, not too good. Lilia, another option, very popular champion, but not very popular champion, I meant, but very, very, very low representation in challenger GM. So 1 challenger playing Lilia right now and 2 GMs playing Lilia right now. So yeah, we're sitting pretty low on the data set right now, and 3% normal pick ban, I guess, a little bit low on the ban, but decently picked. Lilia is not going to be a good option. She's strong sometimes, but I don't think I see her too much. Honestly, not a very popular champion, and I don't see players really finding too much success on Lilia these days. Subject to change if they ever update the champion, though. So this is, of course, like If you find this video at a later time and Lilia has been buffed or reworked, then yes, we can revisit her, and I'll probably make something for that as well. Lissandra, fairly bad to main. This is sort of like a counter pick situation, only you don't have exactly the damage to be able to deal with specific tank threats, so you're only going to be able to focus backline, and that's not really the meta right now. 3 challengers, 6 GMs, you're at a 4.4% pick rate and 2% ban rate, so not a very good option to play. This is kind of like a Galio situation where you're only kind of there as a counter, like a counter pick to like an assassin. So Galio is really good against mage, and Lissandra is really good as a counter pick option. So not a very good pick to do at all times. But yeah, I would not really recommend Lissandra as a main. You don't typically get too far with it. Locke, even though champion is fairly strong and has some representation, it is permaban, so we cannot play it. 45% ban rate is actually the most I've ever seen. I think almost ever. I guess maybe like pre-rework Kassadin was higher, but yeah, it's very impressive that the champion has 45% ban rate. Nobody likes playing against it. So... or with or against it. 8% pick rate, 3 challengers, 2 GMs. You can't play the champion, so I would not recommend playing it as a main. You can play it as a secondary maybe, but not as a main. Lucian, I think there's only one. I think LL Trigger is the only Lucian in higher MMR right now. Double Lift picks him sometimes, but yeah, Double Lift's in GM right now, and LL is in Challenger sometimes. So this champion kind of fluctuates a little bit, but yeah, he's very high pick rate, but very low in the Challenger GM department. So 1 Challenger and 7 GM mains, so not seeing him too much. Lulu, similar situation. 0 challengers, 7 GM players on Lulu, with a somewhat similar pick ban kind of distribution. So 4% ban and 5.6% pick. Lulu is going to be one of those champions that you kind of, it depends. Like there's going to be other support options later on in the charts that are better. So I would say definitely consider that, those options if you were to pick a support main. So yeah, definitely consider not going with Lulu for now. But yeah, I will go over the other ones as they come up, because that's going to be a little bit later. We're just going alphabetical order for now. Lux is going to be F tier. So this is going to be one of the champions similar to Caitlyn, similar to Lux, similar to Kai'Sa. If you like Lux, for sure you can play it. Like again, guys, if you like these champions and you play them a lot, don't take this as a sign, oh, I should never play this champion again. There are very successful Lux mains. It's just that based on the amount that this champion is played and the pick ban rate, are there that many Challenger GM Lux players to justify it? So, for example, Lee Sin is picked and played a lot, like a lot, but there are enough Challenger and GM players, as per like the distribution, to justify Lee Sin being up here, whereas Lux is played similar situation, like a lot, but there's not that many. There's 5 Challengers. Cupid probably has 2 accounts, honestly, and Challenger, I don't know, like he grinds a decent amount sometimes, and there's like 11 GMs across all 3 major servers on like a 30% pick ban. Like this champion everybody kind of knows about and plays against it. You have to be very, like, really elite to be able to play Lux at the highest level wars. So if you do enjoy playing Lux, then yeah, for sure go for it, but it's typically going to be very difficult to climb because you're going to be known. Like your sequences, your abilities are already going to be known, so it's going to be tough. Malphite, similar situation, not a very good champion to main. Everybody kind of plays it. There's 1 player in Challenger on 3 major servers and 0 Grandmasters. So this is going to be the first time we have absolutely 0 Grandmasters. Not going to be last, by the way. 14% ban and 10% pick rate. So very high pick rate, very high play rate, very high ban rate, shows up a lot. So basically, you're almost not going to be able to play him in like 1/4 of games or 1/5 of games, and then like 20% of games you're not going to be able to play him. And when you do play him, you're probably not reaching Challenger with him. So, or even GM. So, very tough. All right. Multiple takes, by the way. So we're gonna move on to Malzahar here. He's going to also go into the F tier just because we're seeing a lot of players play him. Very high ban rates, very high pick rates, but only 2 Challenger Malzahars and 3 Grandmaster Malzahars are represented in the highest elos, so Gen Plus. Yeah, that is a similar situation to Lux, similar situation to the other champions. If you like to play him, if you're auto-filled, or I think you can, but I think as a main champion to pick in the big 2-6, I don't think you should do it. Here we go with Maokai. He's going to be D tier. I think we're going to probably explain a little bit about Maokai. He is used a decent amount in pro play as kind of an answer to certain compositions, but there are 0 Challenger Maokai mains, and there are 5 Grandmaster ones. He does have kind of a little bit above Akshan in terms of play rate, and he doesn't have any bans at him whatsoever, but yeah, he's going to be very tough to main up until high elo. This is going to be another popular champion that I think will blow some minds. It's going to be Master Yi. F tier for sure. There's a ton of Master Yi players. He is very banned. There's 4 Challenger Master Yi players across 3 major regions, and of all those players, there's only 7 Grandmaster players. So he is no, this is not 50%, but he is like basically like 28% pick ban. So yeah, this is very, very difficult to yeah, it's very, very difficult to, I guess, see Master Yi in the highest of MMRs, and yeah. He exists in the lower tiers, I think, mostly. But yeah, there are a few players. I think Sumerius probably has like 2 or 3 accounts in higher MMR right now. So yeah, like just do note that like a few players may have multiple accounts in GM Plus. So that skews the data even more favorably towards the champion that they might main. But for the vast majority of players, these champions tend to not pan out very well. So moving on to Mel, another one of the F tiers. So I think Mel is one of the champions that has actually 50% pick ban. 1 challenger player, 2 GM players. Basically, it's very, very popular, but there are very few mains. I think that's also because with a 38% ban rate, you actually can't play this champion too much. So there is that as well. Milio is going to be one of the champions that's also in F tier. There's 1 Grandmaster Milio main. 0 challengers. Misfortune, 0 challengers. 3 GM players. And Mordekaiser, 0 challengers. Morgana, 0 challengers. So 0 GMs on Morgana as well. So these are very high pick ban champions for Mordekaiser, Morgana, and Misfortune. So you can see these champions a lot, but essentially they all kind of suffer from the same fate, which is that even though there's a lot of players playing them, none of those players end up reaching the highest of MMRs. For whatever reason. It's not, it can be because they're weak right now. It can be because, you know, maybe it's too difficult for the champion in this meta to reach higher MMRs, maybe, but it's not for lack of trying. It is just because, yeah, they're, something is going on with the champion at the higher MMRs that don't allow them to climb past a certain point. So, for Morgana, it's going to be probably because, I mean, it's a fairly popular champion, but doesn't provide too much in terms of utility later on in the game. So she might do well early game, but she might not do well later on in the game. Mordekaiser is countered and definitely gets outscaled by QSS and also just normal scaling. And yeah, similar situation with Milio. Not to say that these champions can't work, they can definitely work. But if you were to try to main them to Challenger, might not work out the best for you right now. Nami, so Nefiri is going to be D tier, so that's very bad. So Nefiri is very, very contested. but we only see, so he's like 30% of games, almost, 28%, I guess, pick ban, and only 3 challengers on him, and 9 GMs on him. So yeah, I mean, I think the only guy is Ravy Demon, Ravy, and Ravy has like multiple accounts, I think, in GM plus. So that I know of, I guess. There's some others for sure, but yeah, right now I think it's just Ravy that I know of, on my server at least. So yeah, that being said, yeah, there's only a few players who are able to play them at the highest MMR, and also the Fury is just banned a lot of the time anyway, so very difficult to actually get the pick going. For Nami, another champion that's highly popular, I would say not great to main Nami. Of those, of the 5-6% pick ban rate, only 2 players are challenger on Nami and 4 GMs, so the champion is a little bit weaker later on, of course. Nasus, similar situation. I think there are actually, there's 4 challenger Nasuses, so I know in my server, there's Maestro, there's Psychopathic Top as challengers, but then, yeah, there's only 2 GMs, and then the champion is pick ban about 16% of the time, so not the best situation, of course, for Nasus. For Nautilus, similar situation, very popular champion, everybody kind of knows what it does. 5 challenger Nautilus's mains, and then 12 GMs, so, but it has a 22% pick ban, so you're gonna get banned out a lot of the time, and you're gonna get contested as well a lot of the time, so not the best champion to main as a result. But you do see some representation at the highest elo, so it's definitely a competitive champion. Nico is going to be in the C tier, so definitely more niche of a champion. You're kind of seeing a pattern here where the more popular champions are actually less good to play, and this kind of holds well with my findings in higher MMR. So 3 challenger mains and 8 grandmaster mains for Nico right now, and pretty low, right around where Akshan is in terms of pick ban rate. So yeah, this is going to get one into the S tiers up here. So Nidalee is going to be an S tier jungler to play. So the reason being is that Nidalee has always been very, very strong in terms of how many challenger and GM players play her. If you're very good at Nidalee, you're going to be able to climb to the top. So definitely getting a lot of mastery in terms of Nidalee play. I used to main Nidalee actually, like in season 6. This was 10 years ago, but I started off maining Nidalee, and I used Nidalee to raise up, like raise myself up in terms of ranks, like very quickly. 2% pick rate, almost no ban rate, 0.7%, and 6 challengers, 19 grandmasters. Like actually, one of the best champions to main if you're good at Nidalee, good mastery on champion, and then you just learn the game from a Nidalee standpoint, you're going to be able to reach the top. You're going to be able to reach the top easier than other champions. I did it back in the day with Nidalee and Elise. So, yeah, it's not changed, I think. But yeah. Nyla, next up is going to be in the good to main. So Nyla is going to be one of the champions that I think definitely is a little bit more niche. There are 0 challenger Nyla mains, but the play rate is very low. So there's 6 GMs, so it's actually not that bad. If you just aim for GM, if you're just aiming for that rank, you're going to be fine on Nyla. Nocturne's going to be too popular to play. He's kind of bad to main, honestly, so 15% ban rate, almost 16% ban rate, only 2 GM Nocturne mains right now, 9% pick rate. He's a very popular champion, but he doesn't really make it too far up the ladder. Nunu, on the other hand, heavy ganking champion. Pentalus has sometimes multiple counts in Challenger with Nunu. I think Kesha also plays him in EU West, but yeah, like there's a good amount of Nunu mains. I used to Nunu main as well. I was top Nunu as well in the graphs. 3 challenger players and 7 grandmaster players for Nunu, so 2% pick rate, similar to Akshan. Pretty solid champion if you were to main him, so pretty decent. Olaf is going to be okay to main as well. There's some representation for Olaf in the Apex tiers, so Challenger and GM is going to be 2 and 6, and we're going to see 3% of the time. I play a little bit of Olaf as well. I think he's okay. You can't really pick him in most situations. He's kind of like a counter pick only. So that's kind of why he's not going to be higher on the tier list. He doesn't have more representation in Apex tiers just because he's so conditional. So it requires, you can get headed out and kind of dashed away from pretty easily. So if you aren't able to attack, then your ultimate is completely useless and you're no longer a champion. So going to be tough to play Olaf sometimes. In terms of mid lanes, Orianna is always going to be good to main. So I would say this is a staple of League of Legends, has always been good, very high representation. So 15, so 3 challengers and 12 GMs. Orianna is just very solid in general. I know Young on our server plays her a lot, and a lot of other like really good mains like Powelter, a couple other players in NA play her a lot. So yeah, pretty decent pick rate. If you were to pick a champion between Azir and Orianna, it's going to have to be Orianna. Not too mechanically intensive. But yeah, these champions are honestly very, very good, very, very solid to play, very good to main. So highly recommend Orianna as a champion. Definitely above things like Annie. But yeah, these are all kind of similar. You can notice they're pretty similar. Next up will be Ornn. So Ornn is going to be up here as well in the bad main. So he's one of the champions that I think only, there's like macro in EOS that plays Ornn. I think he's GM right now. So there's 0 challengers and there's 5 GM players. Sometimes Ornn can reach a little bit higher, but he's basically an autofill only kind of tank champion. Tanks are not too great in terms of solo queue, so that is why like it's difficult to play tanks in solo queue because sometimes your teammates will be a little bit interesting. So it's difficult. It's not impossible, but it's difficult to play tanks in the top lane in solo queue. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. So Pantheon, so gonna be in D tier. I think he is picked and banned a lot, so around 13% of the time. A lot of challengers, 7 grandmaster players on Pantheon, so definitely has some representation. But for the amount that he's played, of these people that play Pantheon, not too many can reach higher MMRs, unlike other champions. So we're gonna get to that. But yes, he's kind of where Nocturne is. Poppy is going to be in D tier. So how I like to think of Poppy is, there's Gemi in NA. I think he plays on 2 accounts, but I'm not too sure. And then there's, I guess I'm missing maybe a few others. But yeah, 3 challengers and 3 grandmasters over the entirety of 3 servers. So pretty decent showcase on pick ban, so 4% and 4% on pick and ban. But yeah, I think Poppy is not too strong. She is strong sometimes, but she's kind of mid. Has been for a while. Pyke, and when she is strong, she's like pick ban, I guess, and it's really difficult to get her. So it's difficult to play Poppy as a main. There's only like 1 guy, which is, yeah, Gemi. But yeah, Pyke, is going to be C tier. So Daybon does play Pyke, and I know a few other people play Pyke on NA. He does have a lot of players in challengers, so 7 and 16 in GM, but for the amount that he's picked and banned, 17% banned, 7% picked, you're not going to be able to play him in 25% of games. Like in 1 in 4 games, you're not going to be able to pick him. So as a main champion, pretty difficult to get Pyke sometimes. Meanwhile, this is also why Dave Mon plays a different champion to get rank 1, going to be Kiana. So it leads us right into Kiana. Very top tier. So you're going to be able to get her a lot of the time. She's only 5% pick ban. 14 challenger Kiana mains, 20 Grandmaster Kiana mains. I know there's Holy Chicken Cows in NA. They've won. There's a bunch of players actually that click on. Like I can't even name them all. Like I just know so many. Like champion is very strong. Has been for a long time now. Very fun as well. It is somewhat mechanically intensive, so I don't know if you can grind into long sessions with Kiana. You better take breaks, or you're gonna find yourself losing LP. But if you were to learn an assassin type champion, this is one of your options. Good in the jungle, good in the mid lane. I've seen it top lane, but not too great there. I would recommend Kiana. For sure. Gwen is going to be okay. I see him sometimes in the jungle, they brought him back, but sometimes in top lane. Most of the time in top lane, he is picked an okay amount of time, but there's only 2 Quinn challengers and 4 Quinn Grandmasters, so yeah, he's okay. But he's not the best, because there's not too many Quinn representation in GM challenger elos. Rakan, similar situation, just similar pick rates. Same with Rammus. They're all going to be in C tier because there's just not that many players in GM Challenger with Rakan or Rammus. So in NA, there's one guy. Oh wait, Rammus is actually after here. Yes, in NA, there's one guy, Chupe Gua. I actually have faced against him a couple times already this season, but yeah, he's the only guy in Challenger with Rammus. So yeah, he's basically holding it up all by himself. Otherwise, yeah, 5% ban rate and 2% pick rate. So not a very good champion right now to main, and has never really been popular. So I mean, if you want to, it's not that bad, but it's just like you might have to copy him only. Is what I'm trying to say, I guess. He does a couple of interesting things. I think Coach Rogue had a video about him earlier, so definitely check that out if it's recent. But yeah, just search it up if you want. But yeah, I don't think he streams or makes any content at all, so there's that. And then Rakan is one of the champions that kind of only has 1 challenger right now and 6 GMs, so even despite like this decent pick rate, similar to Akshan, if he had higher GM plus representation, then he would be higher on the tier list. But yes, that leads us into Rek'Sai. So Rek'Sai, I would have to play it up here. So the reason being is that this might be interesting, and I hope Riot Games does not. I don't know. Anyway, less than 1% pick rate, 17 GM plus representation across 3 major servers, NA, EU, and Korea. 17 with less than 1% pick rate and very, very low ban rate, 0.37. This is very interesting. The data does not lie. That being said, we will move on. I'm not going to reveal the Rek'Sai secrets here. I don't want to get it nerfed again. It was already nerfed multiple times. There are certain things that Rek'Sai can provide that other champions cannot. And we're gonna maybe go into that later. This is similar to the scaling tier list. You can definitely make a lot out of your Rek'Sai gameplay, and it is one of the best champions to main, by far. You can make it all the way to Challenger. If you look on certain stat sites, op.gg, if you trust op.gg, or if you trust other sites, notice where Rek'Sai is. That's all I'm gonna say. But yes, we're gonna go into Rel. Rel is 4% pick ban and has 2 Challenger Rels and 14 Grandmaster Rels across all the servers, so pretty okay to main. I know one guy, GM right now, Dual Swords. He's been grinding it, hit GM before season split. Split 1 ends and split 2, I think he was Master maybe, or I think he was GM as well actually, and then now he's still grinding GM, so trying to get Challenger. Young player coming up, pretty good. So definitely a very strong contender for a main as a support. Renekton, so Renata first is going to be in D, and then this is just because there's 0 Challenger Renatas and 1 Grandmaster Renata, just not a very popular champion. So even though it has similar play rate and ban rate to Rek'Sai, there's zero challenger and champion players basically. Like I don't even know if that one guy counts. Like, I think that might be a it's just there's nobody playing Renata. So and of the nobody playing Renata, there's no players really at the highest MMRs playing him. So something is going on with that champion. I don't know what. Renekton F tier as well. With how much this champion is picked, there's only one challenger Renekton and 4 GM Renektons across the 3 servers. So yeah, a little bit tough. Rengar, this comes as a shock maybe, but gonna be B tier. So unfortunately, I think Rengar is very very prevalent in higher elo, but there's only 8 for how much he's played. Actually, like 5% of the time and banned 3% of the time. There's only 8 challengers on Rengar. This is gonna be a little bit of a shock, but yeah, he's not gonna be S tier. There is gonna be a champion. Name starts with R and ends with Ivern. That is top in the charts. Has been for ever since the beginning of League of Legends. That I think Riven mains will. Those champion mains will argue, but they will not succeed. But yeah, there's almost double the amount of challengers than Rengar on Riven, and it is a very incredibly popular champion. That is going to be Riven. 3%. I guess not too popular anymore, but 3% pick rate and 1% ban rate. Not banned a lot of the time, and not a bit higher than Akshan in terms of pick rate. We're seeing Riven at the top. Riven has been at the top for a very long time. Been a rank 1 champion for a very long time. Has received nerfs recently. Has not stopped him. Has not stopped her. Riven from. I was thinking of Viper, rank 1 player, but yeah, has not stopped him from being rank 1 for the longest time. This is a rank 1 champion, very valuable, honestly. Like, if you wanted to play Goblin, and I don't know, if you're not playing Riven, like, rethink your life. No, I mean, it's fine. But it's like, this is one of the end game champions in League that define games. Like, Riven is very, very strong when you've mastered Riven. So, highly consider this one. Rumble is going to be good to main, so he's going to be one of the champions that I think do pretty well. Very low play rate, very low ban rate, 1 challenger, 6 GM, so it's just one of the lesser played champions, but by the stats, it seems pretty good, and I think this kind of checks out. Rise is going to be C tier, a bit more popular as a champion, I think, so definitely going to be interesting to consider. 2 challenger rise mains and 6 GM rise mains, but yeah, going to be a little bit lower than Rumble. Not too many people play rise, but I think it's pretty solid. It's pretty okay. Samir going to be really, really popular, but also going to only have 1 challenger player on Samira, and only going to have 3 Grandmasters Samiras. Vigorous and NA plays Samira, but sometimes he is not in Challenger, so he's in GM sometimes, so definitely something that is pretty high ban, but also like fairly like as you reach higher MMRs, I don't know what happens to it to her, but yeah, pretty high pick ban, but also very low representation in the higher MMRs. Sidwani is going to be in D tier. I think she just doesn't offer as much as other tank junglers can. Tank jungle is... So there's going to be other tank junglers later on that I will hint at now. Name starts with Z, ends with... actually, no, I'm getting it wrong. I'm getting mixed up. There's going to be other better picks, basically. Let's just say. For tank jungles. So, Sejuani, not the best example. Used in pro play as somewhat of a team comp kind of helper. Kind of shores up your team comp and gives your carry something to fight behind. But Other than that, not too impressive in solo queue. 1 challenger player and 2 GM players. I don't think they're on my server, so they must be in other servers. Senna gonna be okay to main, so Senna recently got nerfed, so that probably impacted this a lot. So pick ban is around 12%, 8% pick, 4% ban, and 5 challengers and 14 GMs. It's gonna be okay to main. If you really like Senna, then you can definitely play it. It's definitely viable. Seraphine is going to be pretty bad to main just because there's going to be a lot of players on Seraphine. It's going to be banned 15% of the time, and then you're going to be contested at like 14. I guess it's going to be picked 14% of the time. There's only 2 challenger Seraphines. I think Cupid counts for one of those spots, and yeah, it's going to be tough to you're going to have 2 challenger spots and 21 GM spots on Seraphine, so I guess you can count GM spots. If you just want GM, then it's going to be fun, but yeah, it's going to be a little bit difficult to climb. Similar situation is going to be set. 0 challenger sets right now. Autolike is not challenger right now. He's the only set player. I think he's GM though, so he's going to 3 GMs on set. So 8% pick rate, 4% ban rate, very very F tier. So a lot of people are playing him. They're not winning with him. So Shaco is going to be D tier. I think there was a few. There's Buggy 2v9 in EU West right now. I recently caught a video on him. He's pretty funny. Does a lot of cheese. But other than that, I don't think there's any Shaco mains in NA right now that are challenger. But there are some that are GM. So very difficult to reach challenger on this champion. 26% ban rate across the elos and 7% pick rates. So very popular champion, doesn't normally reach high elo though. Shen, it's going to be I think around F tier as well. There is 2 Shen challengers in NA, in the major 3 regions. So there's X2 and there's what was that other guy? Why am I lagging? I feel like there's that other guy, right? Like, I'm a top lane guy, Mental Clarity. So he changes his name sometimes, but he's now Mental Clarity. So he mains Shen, and X2 mains Shen in higher MMR. So I don't know if they're challenger or GM right now. But yeah, 2 challengers across 3 major regions and 3 GMs. Very high, pick rate comparatively. So like 6% pick ban. It's not the best. Siobhan is going to be D tier to use as a main champion just because it's very high pick ban. So 4% ban and 5% pick, 3 challengers and 6 GMs. So not to say it's not possible, but it is going to be tougher. Singe is going to be all the way here at good to main. So he has 2 challengers and 12 GM players on Singed right now. 1% ban and 3% pick. I think Natty Nat right now in his top lane arc is showcasing the power of Singed. There's a couple other Singed players in higher MMRs in our server as well. So EOS and NA I know a lot about. So yeah, there's quite a few Singed representation in NA and EU right now. I think he's quite good to main as a top lane. But yes, Sion's going to actually be in B tier, so Sion is going to suffer from a little bit of the too popular syndrome, so it's about 5% pick ban, but he's also not very strong right now. Boss plays it, but he's shifted his focus to other champions now. 2 challengers and 5 GM players across 3 major regions. Server is going to be a complete F tier. Nobody really, even though she's played a lot, about 4-5% of the time pick ban. 0 challengers is not too impressive, and 3 GMs is also not too impressive. Skarner is going to actually be in the S tier, so this is something that I think a lot of people won't know about, but Skarner is actually quite good as a champion. This is one of the tank options that are better than Sejuani. He's also played in Pro. Essentially what this champion is this 1 challenger player. I don't know if it's, I'm not sure who it is exactly right now, but there are 12 GMs, and it's very low ban, very low pick. This is the tank option to go to. If you're not playing tank Rek'Sai, you're playing tank starter. Highly consider this champion as a main. I always see it as doing pretty well in the games that he's actually in, so I think it's good. Alright, so here I think we're going to do upright. One sec. Alright, so we are now on to Smolder. He is going to be one of our F tier contestants. To main, you might get stuck where other Smolders are. There is one Challenger Smolder, there's 4 GM Smolders across a 8% pick ban rate. So lots of games being played on Smolder. Not very many of those games are being played in the highest of MMRs, so we're getting... he was nerfed a while back, so it was a little bit tough. Sona is going to be one of our supports that is the better option to Lulu. We were talking about this a little bit earlier. Lulu is... so Sona is going to be in our B tier here. Good to main. It's actually quite good to main Sona. There's quite a few Challenger and GM Sona mains, so 5 in Challenger right now and 8 in Grandmaster. Sitting around a similar pick ban rate as Akshan, so not very banned and picked around similar to Akshan, so pretty good, honestly. I would say I would highly recommend Sona. Of course, that being said, there is Soraka coming up, and it's for similar reasons to Lulu, not very good. So definitely one Challenger Soraka player. I don't even think I see this champion anymore. Grandmaster is 4. Sona is just better, just pick Sona. 5% pick ban rate. I think Soraka suffers from a little bit of, like, doesn't have as much utility anymore, but yeah, that is going to be the case for Soraka. The next up is going to be Swain. Swain is going to be a little bit tough to main these days. Sort of a counter pick in the bot lane and the mid lane option. So he is picked 7% of the time and banned 4% of the time. 3 Challenger Swain players, 11 Grandmaster Swain players. I think it's okay if you really know what you're doing on Swain. So we can move him a little bit up as well, but the stats kind of say that he's not that good. There's a lot of people picking him, and it's not very not very successfully, I guess. Silas is going to be one of the D tier contestants as well. He is quite strong in higher elo, especially if you know how to play him, but with a 14% ban rate and a 16% main rate, or a 16% pick rate, and mains, I guess, somewhat being in high elo, you're not going to really be able to play him too much. He is highly contested. I know there's one Silas main and Challenger right now in NA, and then there's a lot of people who play him. So Silas is just going to be one of those niche champions. 12 Challengers and 19 GMs. It sounds like a lot, but with how much he's played, it's not very much at all. Syndra is going to be okay to main as well. This is one of the classic champions. When picking between Syndra or Orianna, you can play both. They play somewhat similar, but yeah, you're just kind of a control mage. 11 Challengers, 20 Grandmasters, very competitive champion. 7.5% ban rate and 10% pick rate, so you're going to see her a lot. Tompkins is actually one of those champions on next up, is that it's going to be very bad to main. 0 Challengers, 0 Grandmasters. There is one Challenger in Europe Northeast, I think, EUNE. No Arm Watley, he creates some content as well. He is quite good on Tahm Kench, but other than him, there is basically nobody out here playing it, so 4% ban rate and 6% pick rate. So yeah, pretty much stop playing this champion. Talia is going to be one of those champions that belongs up here in the S tier. So this champion is a very kind of 2 Challengers and 16 Grandmasters, but very, very low play rate. Jungle Talia, very strong. Mid Talia, very strong. If you're a master at the champion, you can reach the top and reach the top fairly easily. So definitely consider this champion when looking to main something. Talon, similar situation in the jungle and mid. Very, very strong one-trick champion. Very, very strong main champion. So I would highly consider, like this is 10 Talon Challenger mains. You probably know of a few content creators as well on Talon. I think Chaos as well, Costanza in EU West, and a couple of Talon mains in NA. This champion's always been very, very strong, very popular, so 10 Challenger mains and 24 Grandmaster mains with a 5% pick rate and a 2% ban rate. So you're going to get this champion often, and there's going to be good role models to follow on this champion, so that also counts for a little bit as well. Taric is going to be one of those champions, belongs all the way up into the great to main. Taric's always been very solid as a support option. I've seen him around a decent amount. Light Rocket has also made Taric jungle work, so yeah, definitely one of the strongest contenders up there as well. So can consider Taric as one of the serious options. 2 challengers, 9 GMs, and a very low pick rate and a very low ban rate. So pretty decent as well. Teemo is one of the options that belongs here. There's one guy, Taiji, that plays Teemo, so he is very high on the ladder. 16, like he is banned a lot of the time when you're climbing through the ranks, and he is picked 10% of the time as well. So very popular champion, but of all the people that pick him, only Taiji is the sole challenger in the major regions. I don't think I've seen anybody else really play him with too much success. Tai does a lot of cheese strats. You can see a Coach Rogue video on that, where essentially he just stands in lane, and you have to have very high mechanical skill to be able to pull him off, and you have to, like, it's going to take a long time for you to learn him. A lot of people do play Teemo. Only 4 GMs and 1 challenger have made it all the way to Epic's tiers, so not a very good main champion to play. Thresh, similar situation, not very good main champion to play. He is going to be picked 10% of the time. Not similar situation to Teemo, of course. I guess the pick rate to Teemo is similar, but the ban rate is not. 6 challenger Threshes, 14 GM Threshes, but for the amount that he's played, there should be more players, I guess, up here with him. And then Tristana would be D tier as well, so similar situation. She's played a decent amount, so 8.5% of games. She can go mid, she can go top, she can go bot. But yeah, 4 challenger Tristanas and 16 GM Tristanas, so about a 12% pick ban rate. Trundle belongs in F tier. I really like Trundle, but he just doesn't work in higher elo. So 0 challenger Trundle mains, and Kaguru is one of the only Trundle mains in GM plus. So I play him sometimes as well as a counter pick, but yeah, 3% pick rate and less than 1% ban rate. Not a very impressive champion. Tryndamere goes into the D tier as well, so essentially Tryndamere is not too strong of a champion to main. We do see only 2 Tryndamere challenger players and 7 GM Tryndamere players, so he's kind of there are better split push options. So there's better AD options as well for bruisers and assassins as well. So he's kind of a little bit outdated at this point. He's kind of like an early, like one of the earlier champions in League of Legends. You can still play him if you're really, really good on macro, but yeah, definitely very macro heavy champion, not a very mechanic heavy champion. You just kind of right click them down, kind of run at people. Twisted Fate, one of the solid options next to Syndra, kind of works exactly like Galio, but is a little bit more versatile. Dopa frequently plays this champion. He is now banned from League, but yes, there is that. 4 challenger Twisted Fate mains and 12 Grandmaster ones. There is a top Twisted Fate player in EU West, I think. His name is Arthur, and yeah, so there's 4% 4% ban pick or ban, basically a 5% pick ban, less than 1% ban and 4% pick. So yeah, it kind of checks out. Twitch is similar in this vein of thinking. So basically, you're seeing 3 challenger Twitch mains. So McQueen is the best Twitch in NA right now, and I don't know about other servers, but I think he is probably one of the best here. And 11 GM Switch mains as well, so they typically make it pretty far up the ladder. So he's okay, but yeah, he's a very popular champion, very OG champion. So yeah, 6% ban and 5% pick. Udyr is going to actually be D, so Udyr's somewhat popular, I guess. So he's not very popular. He's about a little bit higher than Akshan in terms of play rate, but he's actually there's only 2 Udyr mains in Challenger right now, one of them being in NA, so Verdicts, and then potentially Wenwen, but Wenwen is sometimes not in Challenger, so yeah, so there's only 2. And there's 3 in GM, so very low representation in GM plus makes Udyr not as good. Urgot, best Urgot NA, best Urgot World. Quante, we'll put him in C tier here. Unfortunately, Urgot's very difficult to main as a champion. He has a little bit higher play rate than Akshan, but very low representation in Challenger and GM, so unfortunately that makes him very tough to play. So 3 and 5 in terms of Challenger and GM. I think this kind of checks out with my experience on Urgot as well. I think the champion's very niche and very difficult, so definitely mechanically skilled. Varus goes into F. Basically, Varus got nerfed a while back, and there's only 1 Challenger player and 1 Grandmaster player across 3 major servers. Varus top was a decent threat for a long time. Varus ADC as well. There is one Varus player, I'm blanking on his name, but essentially I can't remember everyone honestly, but there is one guy who only plays Varus, 1500 games on Varus. I think he might have recently dropped off a little bit. I haven't seen him around recently, but yeah, he used to be one of the GM plus spots. I don't know if he still plays, but yeah, 4% pick ban rate, 3.5% pick, and less than 1% ban. But yeah, it definitely belongs in the F. Vayne, also F tier, not a good main champion. Basically, there's only 3 Challenger Vaynes across all servers. Very popular champion, very good ban, pick ban rates, so about 20% there. In terms of 10% ban and 9% picked, 7 GM players as well in Vayne, so not very good representation of the champion in the higher elos. But yeah, Veigar, similar situation. Only 3 challengers have made it, and 4 GM players on Veigar. 10% pick rate, 4% kind of ban rate, so not very banned, but picked a lot, and not much representation in higher elo. Vel'Koz, we all know Azap, very good content creator on, kind of founder of that Never FF mentality. 1 Challenger Vel'Koz main, I think that might be him actually, and then 17 Grandmaster ones. But yes, 5% pick rate, 2% ban rate. This is a solid champion, but he does have his main account and some alternate accounts, so I don't know how much of this is actually just 1 player, so keep that in mind. It might just be 1 player. So next up will be... So next one up is Vex. So essentially we are reaching some of the end of the list here, but we're going to have to just power through a little bit. So Vex is going to be one of the champions that I think is going to belong in D tier. This champion isn't really too popular. There's only 1 challenger player on Vex and 5 grandmaster players. So 4% ban rate, 4% pick rate across the elos, and yeah, this is going to be a little bit tough to play as a result. We're going to see Vi and Viego. So we're going to actually just do Vi next. This is going to also be a D tier champion to main. Vi is generally used as lockdown, so you're kind of a support for your team. 3 challenger Vi mains, one of them being Dumpa in North America, and 5 grandmasters. So 6.5% picked and 1.6% banned. I think this champion is you're going to see it a decent amount of the time climbing through the elos, but she is kind of simple to play, but also does not really have too high of a kind of cap. Viego, of course, even worse. Actually, yeah. So Viego is somewhat similar, but yeah, very high play rate on Viego, but only 4 challengers right now on Viego and 18 grandmasters, so 8.5% ban rate, 12% pick rate, so he's a very popular champion, but just a lot of people aren't finding that much success on Viego right now. Victor, somewhat similar to the other control mages up there, but he is a little bit worse off. 6 challengers, 17 grandmasters players, so it can be done, but he is picked and banned whopping 20% of the time, so 11% I guess picked and 9% banned. So there is that. Vladimir, very good champion to main, so he's good. This champion, I think, was a very staple of League of Legends for a very long time. I remember him pre-rework being quite good as well. So I remember I liked pre-rework Vladimir better than post, but that's just me. 4 challengers on Vlad, 22 grandmasters, and 4% ban rate. Less than 5% pick rate, so you're going to get him a good amount of time. He has a decent amount of representation in higher elo right now, so we can look to pick up Vlad as well as one of the options for mid lane or top lane. Volibear, unfortunately, does not have anybody in higher elo right now, so I mean, he has 3 grandmaster mains. I know that he has seen better days. Unfortunately, sometimes Riot just nerfs Volibear, so 0 challengers, 3 GM plus contestants. So yeah, less than 2% ban rate, 5% pick rate. Very popular champion. Unfortunately, the cap is not great. Warwick has 1 challenger Warwick player, but 2 grandmaster players, so similar to Volibear. But yeah, 6% ban rate. I guess that's mainly lower elos, but 7%, 8% pick rate. So across all those players, none of them have been able to rise up. There's one guy like Paranelix, I think, or no, not that guy, not that guy. That one Warwick guy. What was his name? E West. I'm just blanking on names right now. But yeah, it's all right. You guys know, if you guys know, you know. Other than him, nobody has been able to make it work. But yes, Wukong, 0 challengers and 3 grandmasters. I know Agron plays it sometimes, but that doesn't really count as a main champion. He kind of plays everything. And his Wukong win rate right now, at least, is not very impressive to me. It's like 47%, and he's lost a lot of elo. That's not climbing to me. That's actually trolling. So 6% pick rate across the board. Not very strong. 2% ban. And yeah, Wukong he jumps into flavor sometimes, and then he kind of falls. I don't think he's quite good right now. Xayah is 0 challengers, and so for Xayah, 0 challengers and 4 grandmasters right now. So that seems to be the cap of the champion. She's picked 3.4% of the time, banned less than 1%. So people who main Xayah are getting her, but they're just not able to reach challenger. I don't think it's too impressive. Xerath is one of the mages that is quite interesting. I would say if you know how to play good Xerath, like, there's actually a decent amount of challengers on them, but I think the ban rate and the pick rate is a little bit high right now, especially with Xerath bot. It's not actually a great main as a result. Basically 1 million games have been played on Xerath. He's 23% ban and 11% pick, so 7 challengers, 12 GMs. It's a little bit too contested to be maining it, but you can if you want, if you like how it plays. I just think there may be better picks. Xin Zhao, not many challengers. He belongs in bad to main because not many challengers representation. So two people in challenger play it, and then 4 in GM plus. He is 4% picked and 1% banned. Yasuo, surprisingly, he's okay. So you can all know the 0-10 Yasuo meme. Basically, Yasuo gets destroyed in these fights around, like, basically you just die over and over and you snowball the game for the enemy team. This is actually the most amount of challengers in the game, I think, at 23 challengers and 32 GMs. He is banned 18% of the time and picked 16% of the time. So he's okay to me. it's similar to Yone. You're gonna have similar results. They're basically the same champion. So yeah, Yasuo and Yone kind of go together. They're okay. With how many players play them, they might. It is actually pretty difficult to reach Challenger or GM on these champions because based on how many people that are playing them, you would maybe see more. But yeah, essentially, this is kind of where the champion lies. It's not going to be like a Riven situation where even though there's, you know, like these top champions here are going to be a lot stronger to main just because you have an edge. Everybody already kind of knows what Yasuo and Yone do. So 19 challengers on Yone, 28 GMs. Like Yone is slightly less banned, so yeah, Yasuo players play Yone and Yone players play Yasuo, especially when they're banned this much. So yeah, there's going to be that. But yeah, definitely consider Jayce. Definitely consider Ambessa. Definitely consider Qiyana. You don't necessarily have to play Yasuo or Yone. Of course, if you like those champions, then feel free. They're okay. So that's why this is okay. And then these I would steer away from for now. Anyway, next up, it will be Yorick. So Yorick's going to be one of those champions that is hard F tier. Unfortunately, there's 0 challenger Yorick mains and 3 GM ones, and I believe they do struggle. So, yeah, it's just not going to be a very fun champion to play. I think if you like Yorick, you can feel free to play him. He kind of was forgotten by Riot Games a while back, so. They did his rework, he was strong for a little bit, and then they kind of forgot about him. He's not very popular, there are no skin lines, it's going to be very tough to kind of main him. Yunara is going to actually be up here in the B tier. So Yunara is one of those ADCs that actually do scale quite well into late game. She is pretty good overall, she's very fun to play. 12 challengers on Yunara, 18 GMs, 1% ban rate, so she's not going to be hyper contested, less than 5% click rate. Pretty solid as an option, honestly. So, you know, you do see a lot of challengers playing Yunara for good reason. So, yeah, you're gonna see her a lot in higher elo games. Yumi, definitely F tier. So this is a champion that has 0 challengers and also 0 GMs as mains. I think this one is a master tier and stop there kind of champion. You don't see it at all in higher MMRs. It's not really pick or ban. But yeah, it's not going to be too great of a champion. Zehen, 0 challengers, 3 grandmaster mains. So now there is that. There are 3 GMs, but yeah, 3% pick rate. Not too many people playing it. Zac, honestly, Zac is a decent consideration. There are 3 challenger Zac mains, and 2 GM Zac mains, but yeah, we're talking about single digit numbers. He's played more than Akshan as well and banned less, so I mean, I guess it's, you know, it's fair. Zed, similar situation. You'd rather pick, I mean, if you like playing Zed, you'd rather pick like Qiyana or something, right? Zed has been nerfed quite a bit. Play rate is around 3%, and yeah, only 3 challenger Zeds and 23. Oh, no. Zed, I was looking at the wrong thing. Zed is 3 challengers and 23 grandmasters, 19% ban and 11% pick rate. So basically almost 30% pick ban. He's a little bit too popular. You'd rather look at these less populated assassins, Qiyana, Talon, you know, even consider something like Ambessa, if you were to play a main. Of course, if you like Zed, then for sure, play him. So Zeri belongs in the B tier here. So Zeri in high-elo, we're gonna see a few of them. So 2 challenger Zeris, 10 GM Zeris. Honestly, I have seen challenger Zeri jungle before in NA at least. So Remain in Light, I remember. Don't exactly know who he is, but he's very good. So I remember, yeah, he's just very mechanical champion. Similar to Akshan, just solid option all around. So Zeri's kind of flex into the jungle as well, since he is kind of a versatile champion. Ziggs, 100% after the mage nerfs get through, F tier. So 1 challenger Ziggs main and 2 GM. Ziggs players. Right now, his pick ban is pretty high as well, around 5% ban and 7%, close to 7% pick. So yeah, not a very good champion to play as a main. Zilean C tier. I would say 3 Zilean Challenger mains and 8 GM ones. But yeah, this champion is fairly good, I would say. 3%. I would say this is pretty accurate. Like he's okay. I think Zilean mains are very skillful, and you know they do, like you can do well on him. Here's a problem champion. So he is very strong mechanically. I guess not even. I wouldn't even say Zoe's that mechanically difficult. Guys, if you want a free champion to challenger, just take this champion. Why not? I mean, it's similar to Riven. It's similar to like if you Tilia. It's similar to Rek'Sai. Like it's similar to Bard. Like these are the best in the game right now, and have been for a while. So 14 challenger mains in the three regions, 25 GM players on them, 3% pick rate, very low ban rate, 2% ban, 3% pick. I mean, the representation speaks for itself. Like a lot of these players on these top champions end up making it to peak elos, just you know, just magically. So yeah, anyway, Zara, pretty okay to main. So 5 challengers and 6 GMs and a 4% pick and 3% ban. So this kind of concludes the tier list. I'm gonna give my closing thoughts here. So I'm kind of happy where we placed everybody right now. I think if I look at new data, I mean, this might change depending on reworks, but I'm pretty happy with where everybody is at for mains. So typically in my experience, you don't want to main, so kind of just to rehash everything, you don't want to main something that is completely like super popular and essentially you need to get contested. So either it's super popular like Lock and you are going to get banned or contested every single game. So you basically can't play it. So that's obviously out. You can't really main a champion like this. You don't want to play something that everybody already knows how to play against. So something super simple and something that I think like Amumu, something super simple, everybody already knows what you do, and also somewhat weak and higher elo. You don't want to play something like that. If you have a choice, if you prefer to have a choice in like what you main, because you can definitely choose similar champions. Like for example, let's say you're a Zed main. There's not that many Zed mains. They don't really do well in high elo anymore. I mean there are, but it's also high pick ban, so everybody kind of knows how to play against Zed already. You already know all the limits of the champion when you're up against one because you see it so often. So you might not want to pick Zed. You might not want to pick Pyke. You know, Dave Mon definitely kind of understood this, and now he plays mainly Qiyana. You can check his stats. You can see what he does. 65% win rate Qiyana or something, right? Plays Pyke a little bit less now. Plays Ekko up here as well. You know, good to main, great to main. You know, plays Ekko, plays Qiyana, plays other assassins. They're the same type of champion. It's just that you can climb a little bit further with some over others. It is what it is. But yes, so that's essentially what we want to be looking for when we're looking for a main. Everything above okay, I think is okay. Right, like this is okay, this is good, this is great, this is best, right? So this is all playable, right? Yasuo, Yone, Zilean, Zyra, like they're all playable. They're all okay. Once we get down to the bad and the very bad, like is there anything here that I would say probably don't? I would say like anything here, I mean, that would deserve to be moved up or down one. I would say I'm probably happy with where the tier list is at. I think the data does not lie. I think it's just, yeah, as a main option, there are better. It's either the champion is super contested, or it's very difficult to play, or they're just very little high elo representation in solo queue, at least for the champions. So you don't like, if there's only one player, like for example Heimerdinger or something in higher elo, like challenger, he might suffer from some other issues other than just low player count. So of those players that are playing him, they're not able to reach high elo for whatever reason. Stuff like Teemo is very difficult to make work in challengers. Not to say you can't, there's just one player who can, but it's just going to be harder. And we want to make the climb easier because League is largely solved, so you can find stats everywhere. You literally have you have my content, you have tons of other people's contents. They basically stream, like I stream as well, but like basically you can find content on like how one can climb from like iron all the way to challenger, and once you're in challenger you can find guides on how to reach top 50 or top 10 or whatever, right? You can watch Viper, you can watch other rank 1 players just kind of play live. You can literally see what they do and reach rank 1 as well. So League is somewhat solved. There's a lot of context as to what you can play. I'm just trying to add to it and try to see like, oh, like there seems to be a lot of Bard mains in Challenger. There seems to be a lot of, Rek'Sai mains, even though the player rate is really low. Like there's a ton of Riven mains. For whatever reason, this champion has always been really, really strong. So you can see like different. There's a lot of Zoe mains actually. Like you can see. Is it that the people playing these champions are just naturally more talented at the game, or is it that the champions themselves have different capabilities and are able to reach higher elos at different rates? So this is all things to kind of consider when picking out a main champion, if you haven't already picked out one, or if you're thinking about swapping mains. So that being said, hopefully this helps. Let me know for questions. I will try to post everything down below, and yeah, feel free to check out the guides. I probably should have said it in the beginning. I'm going to have everything written out as to all the reasoning and everything like that for every single champion. So hopefully that is clear. This is going to be a little bit rambly, a little bit, I guess, of a longer video just because there's so much information to talk about for all these champions. So I'm going to scroll down once more. I'm going to go over everything. So Bard. So in S tier, we have Bard, Ivern, Nidalee, Rek'Sai, Riven, Skarner, Talia, Zoe. In A tier, we have Akshan, Ambessa, Cassiopeia, Draven, Hecarim, Jayce, K'Sante, Karthus, Qiyana, Talon, Taric. B tier, we have Anivia, Aurelion Sol, Aurora, Corki, Ekko, Elise, Fiora, Janna, Kalista, Katarina, Kennen, Kindred, Kog'Maw, Lee Sin, Nyla, Nunu, Orianna, Rel, Rengar, Rumble, Singed, Sona, Vladimir, and Eunora, and Zeri. But yes, I think that I'm a little bit actually too lazy to go through all of them again. But yes, so essentially these are where the champions are at for now. I think I'm okay with all of these. Everything below this list might not be the best idea to main right now. That isn't to say, next season it could change completely. Yes, I get it, but I don't think it will change too much just because of the play rates and kind of everything kind of. Yeah, I don't think it's going to change too much unless a rework happens. Okay, so if a rework happens randomly next season, then, or even like later on after this video is released, then yes, things can change. But otherwise, I think things are going to stay somewhat fixed for a while. The meta, like Riot Games, does not typically change the meta too much, so that is going to be how it be. So like in between seasons, I mean, they don't really change the meta too much. they don't really try to shake it up that much. So yeah, we're okay with the tier list for now. Let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you guys in the next one.